Hello and welcome to the post-match reaction to the Hurricanes versus the Chiefs. The Hurricanes have won the quarter final 32-31, and so they'll be obviously moving on to the semi-finals. And it suggests as a 1-point margin this was a close game. And whilst it probably was a close game played, it wasn't the scoreline in the second half meant that we kind of knew who was going to win from quite a long way out. This game started really scrappy, and actually I don't have the handling errors, but the Canes let the first kickoff bounce, then got charged down. They were lucky to retain possession, and then next play, Damien McKenzie tries to throw a long miss out pass. Julian Sevilla reads it well, intercepts, and runs it back for a try. And you know what? It wasn't the next kick off the Canes again knock on. So the Canes made lots of errors early on, but suddenly but 7 points up, and Julian Sevilla intercepted again at the line out. Sorry, not the line out, at the scrum. Get from this time a pass from Webber, but he got run down, and then there was a knock on that let the Chiefs off the hook. So early on, both sides making errors. The Hurricanes, the Canes knocking it on, getting charged down, letting the ball bounce, and then on the flip side, the Chiefs throwing those two early intercepts as well. They came back well. The Chiefs, great work after a penalty at scrum time, which gave them the territory. Webber ran a lovely sporting line, and it's and they evened things up at 7-7. So they recovered well. Did the Chiefs at that point, and it was quite clear that the Chiefs were not going to be exiting, kicking their exits. They were going to try and play out, whereas the Hurricanes were much happier to kick the ball in this time. It's changed a bit in the second half, where the Chiefs kicked the ball a bit more, but even so, the Hurricanes still kicked the ball 31 times to the Chiefs 23. And 23, they definitely wanted to. The Chiefs had a tactic of running the ball out. We also thought this was finals footy from the Canes because they got themselves an offside penalty after the Chiefs evened things up, and they kicked 3, whereas soon afterwards the Chiefs got their penalty, but they tried to kick for the corner, and they had pretty much a 10-minute effort camped down in the Hurricanes part of the field, but the Hurricanes tackling did start to tighten up. They missed quite a lot of first up tackles early on, which is why they ended up missing 41 tackles in the game, only a 72% completion record. But initially, early on, they were their tackling was pretty poor. But the Chiefs made too many of their own errors and couldn't actually get and couldn't get the points they deserved, and eventually had to basically take the 3 points after 2 or 3 penalties, and then just not getting over that Hurricanes line. So that was a big win during that 10 minutes there, from about the 10-minute mark up to about the 20-minute mark, where the Hurricanes kept the Chiefs out. And as I say, the Chiefs kept on trying to play out of their own half, but the Canes tackling kind of improved. And then on the 32nd minute, a big moment of controversy. I've already been asked about it in the live chat. It's the first or the second of the Canes Hurricanes tries. Scrum time. We've got Webber peeling off, looking to basically tackle the first player's pass to TJ Perinara. Notices that, and TJ went for the sniped off the scrum and got over the line. Now, the initial reaction from the referee was that it was a try, but he put his hand down, then called his assistant in, and his assistant said that perhaps there was a knock on. So the on-field decision there at that point was no try, knock on. TMO, please can you check? And the TMO came back and said, I can't see a clear knock on. Now, if that's the case and he can't say I saw it clearly under control, then he should stay with the on-field decision. The on-field decision was a knock-on scrum, but because the team said I can't see a clear knock-on, the referee changed his decision and awarded the try. So, yes, I agree. There wasn't a clear knock-on. He may have the control of the ball could have switched between arms. It's not clear exactly what was going on there on the camera, but it's also not clear that he definitely had it under control. So he should have gone with. So I think technically we should have gone with the on-field decision, which was no try. But I'd say either way, I'm not upset that it was a try. There wasn't a clear knock-on in there, and TJ got that try. There were some interesting moments of play after that. I mean, we had we had the mark called by the Chiefs at one point, and they did a cross-field kick from the mark, which was sort of a pass kick, which was interesting. And Stevenson made some good some good yards then, but he passed into touch, and that was really what we saw a lot of from the Chiefs was good breaks, particularly in that first half. They had like 65% possession, 69% territory, but too many errors on their part, which is why they ended up trailing 17-10 at half time. One of the things we saw in that half, and we also saw in the early in the second half, was both, and we saw Milner Scudder out on one wing and also Julian Sevilla out on the other wing. Both of them were very happy to sort of make that little break, then put a little kick in, either a chip over or a little grubber through, and try and chase it. It never really came off, but we saw, but it kept putting the Chiefs back territorially, putting pressure on the Chiefs. The Chiefs, to say, had decided they weren't going to kick to this Hurricanes side. In the early in that second half, though, there was the Chiefs got a scrum, gave it to Charlie Artai, who boosted it down the pitch. It held up in the wind, and so it dropped short of where the receiving player was. Ball was collected by the Chiefs, and the Chiefs went over and scored a try from that. But that was as good as it got at 17-all, really, for the Chiefs, because we had a bit of aimless kicking especially from DMAC at this point, where they went away from that idea of running it out, and they decided actually that they were obviously making too many mistakes and giving up territory, so they were actually going to try and kick out instead. But too many of his kicks were basically down the centre of the pitch and were a bit aimless. There wasn't much of a kick chase, and the players weren't getting underneath it, so it was very easily run back at least to halfway before any defenders were encountered. And with that allowed the Canes basically to camp pretty much most of the second half in Chiefs territory. So they ended up getting 52% possession, 61% territory in that second half. So it's totally swung round. And it came down to, I think, more the style of how the Chiefs were playing and changing to some of their exits rather than about wind or anything like that. The Canes got themselves a penalty, went for the 3 again, stretched it out. And then, I mean, one of the theme from this was that the Canes scored 4 tries in this game. One was an intercept on the first minute, and then the other 3 all came from set piece, 3 from tries. Pretty similar to the other weekend against the Blues, where all of their tries again against the Blues came first phase set piece. Now, one of these tries was second phase. Lamapi ran it up. There was a ruck and the ball spun wide to Ben Lam. But the other 2 were TJ Perinara running off the scrum because Brad Weber was looking to tackle the next person and didn't stay in tight. When he went off and Triple T came on, or Tauranga came on, you saw him sticking much closer to the scrum defensively, blocking that channel that TJ Perinara had so much so much joy with earlier in the game. And so that was clearly a misread by Weber there, because TJ went from the scrum and got over again, and then we had another one this time from the scrum. The same Lam having bashed it up. They went wide to Ben Lam, who went round D-Mac. Ben Lam against D-Mac. Ben Lam's always going to score under that situation. To take it out to 32-17. So a 3-score gap on 68 minutes. Basically, at that point, I put a tweet out saying this feels like all over. Even when it got to a 2-score gap, I said that's a big. Even though it's only 8 points, a 2-score gap was a big gap in the context of this game. Up until that point, and yeah, so basically that was it. I mean, Damien McKenzie. Then the Chiefs would basically try to overplay from then onwards. Damien McKenzie's restart didn't go 10. The Chiefs had another brilliant break, but Damien McKenzie tried to spin it wide, and there was a forward in the way who knocked it on. Damien McKenzie picks it up from an offside position, which gave her a penalty, which gave up the territory again. And the more the Chiefs were trying to play, the more penalties it felt like they were giving up. Sure, in the last 2 minutes, or 2 minutes from the end, great break by Solomon Olamano, that D-Mac finished under the post and a quick drop goal conversion. And then they got another consolation try once time was up as well. And Charlie Nartai nicely got to slot the conversion this is his final game for the Chiefs before he goes overseas. And that made it a 1-point game. So it sounds like it was sort of touch and go, being only 1 point. But in reality, the Chiefs had been 3 scores clear from 68 minutes, two scores clear from 61, and it never felt like the Chiefs were really going to come back into this. The other way of looking at it is it was only a consolation. It was only an intercept try at the beginning that's the difference and that won this game. And that, the Chiefs basically lost this game rather than the Hurricanes winning it. You can definitely look at it from that way. The Chiefs weren't great tonight, but they had plenty of opportunities to score more points. As a Hurricanes supporter, I wouldn't be feeling massively positive after this win. Yes, they got the win. Yes, they're on to the next stage. That's all that really matters. But for 2 weeks running, the Canes have only scored from set piece, apart from an intercept. They haven't really shown that they can break down sides. And coming up against probably the Crusaders next, I wouldn't be heading into that game with much confidence or any confidence, to be honest with you. So, the Chiefs, their own worst enemies tonight, overplaying, dropping the ball, too many errors. The Hurricanes did enough to get themselves home, but they need a massive step up next weekend to get through the semi-finals. So, the tackling was look at some of the stats. I mean, that 72% tackling is going to be a worry for the Hurricanes. The other thing that happened tonight was lineouts for the Chiefs. There's like 4 or 5 lineouts before the Hurricanes had any, and the Chiefs lost or won at 12 of their 15. They lost only, you can say they only lost 3, but they lost like 1 or 2 of their first lineouts, which told me they totally lost confidence, and then they lost one later on as well, which was actually after the TJ try, so before the 4th try by the Hurricanes, and that lost lineout was part of what gave the Hurricanes the field position for that one. So definitely that misfiring lineout also was a big handicap for this Chiefs team. If one of your set pieces goes to isn't firing, it does hurt you. One of the things that I mentioned tonight that I thought was going to be potentially an area that the Chiefs could get the upper hand was the breakdown. But Evans playing in that 7 jersey rather than the 8 that he's been playing the rest of the season had a big game tonight. And hence the Hurricanes won 96% their rucks to 93, won by the Chiefs. We also allow Mappy to get himself very physical. He was very up for this game, trying to prove a point that he is about his pecking order in that 12 jersey. I think we saw him counter-rucking against Charlie and Artai with some big hits in as well. I think he's trying to make a real big point at the moment about his position within the sizes. So a quick look at some of the player stats on here. Obviously, those 2 breaks by Julian Sevilla helped him rack up the most metres run. That was 140 metres. Now, as I say, quite a lot of those were done within the first 5 minutes of the game. Scott Stevenson, again, also was involved in a couple of big breaks, which you mentioned. He's up with 108. Antonette Brown got through a chunk of work with the most carries, with 18 carries in this game, and also racked up nearly 100 metres. Damon McKenzie was up there as well, as you'd expect. Bowden Barrett, a couple of carries, but relatively quiet with the ball in hand tonight. And Geordie, whilst we saw one nice break, didn't really make that many yards on this. Naeem Scudder from fullback, as I say, it was easy to run the ball back to halfway with some of that kicking. That contributed to his 94 metres. And Solomon Amano, we mentioned his break during the chats. He also got through a fair chunk. Up front amongst the forwards, Boscher had a good game tonight. He got through 10 carries. Sam Cane with 16. Retallick, his normal busy self, with 14. We really needed Sam Cane and Retallick to step up tonight. Messam, I'm surprised he's only down as 5 carries because we also has heard his name mentioned quite a bit in this. But he did have 6 passes as well, so he handled the ball about 11 times. So yes, he was also made his presence known. On the other side, Gareth Evans, I've talked about already, but also Tamunga Allen on his 100th Super Rugby game, his 101st game for the Hurricanes, also put himself about a bit. Defensively, the Hurricanes got through a lot more tackles than the Chiefs, but Boscher, who we talked about, who got the second consolation, who got the final consolation try for the Chiefs, he had a good game with 11 tackles, didn't miss any. 10 for Sam Cane, didn't miss any. That's kind of sort of stuff we expect from him. On the other side, Riccatelli also put himself about a bit. Gareth Evans, I've already, and Thompson also got through big tackles, but Fachi Falofa, 18 tackles, was the top tackler on the night. So that's basically how it was. Did anyone give up? Gareth Evans, sure, yeah, also got 3 penalties. He got the most penalties of anybody. But I'd say he got through a lot of work, quite a couple of turnovers, and had a big game tonight. Looking at some of the live chat, yeah, Brent goes here. Frustrating watch the Chiefs fans, though mistakes were punished, and they dominated the first 40. And yeah, they did dominate that first 40, but they didn't get the points they needed in that. And that's from their own mistakes, wasn't it? So, congratulations to the Hurricanes. We'll see. Also, next game up is the Crusaders versus the Sharks, and that'll decide who the Hurricanes are going to face in their next game. If the Crusaders win, and obviously it being Christchurch, if the Sharks win, then the Sharks will travel up to Wellington. Then after that, we see the Waratahs versus the Highlanders and the Lions versus the Jaguares. That will decide the semi-final on the other side of the draw. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. And as always, please do hit that like button, share it with all your friends. Always up for good rugby chats, comments down below on Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Always much appreciated. And do enjoy the rest of the rugby this weekend.